lot of new faces. And our goal and what we believe is we believe in we the people. And we believe the principles that our country was founded on. And so in that light, let me ask this real quick question. Are there any veterans here? If you'd raise your hand. Wow. Okay, thank you so much for what you did to defend freedom. And if you wouldn't mind, and I will fix this issue by tomorrow, there's not a flag, but would you guys mind saying the Pledge of the Allegiance to me with me? So I'll start us off. And I have nowhere to aim, you guys, so I apologize. So is there... Yeah, we're going to aim towards your car, which is that way. So I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you guys for doing that. For those of you who don't know me, we started the Americans for Prosperity chapter in 2009. And we started them because of the issues. Does anybody remember the health care debate? The health care takeover when that bill was going through Washington, D.C.? Does anybody remember the cap and trade energy taxes when that was going through in 2009? Does anybody remember the card check legislation, which was kind of the unionization bill? So that's kind of the springboard for Americans for Prosperity. We started fighting these issues because of what they do, not only to our economy, but our choices as citizens and individuals. And just part of my personal story, the healthcare issue hit so close to home for me because when my dad was 60 years old, he was diagnosed with a rare form of blood cancer, and he was given 6 months to live. Well, because of the patient-centered care here in the United States, he lived an additional 10 years. And in those 10 years, he walked me down the aisle. He held my 3 kids when they were born. And that time was priceless to me. And that's what got me off of my couch when this issue came down, because those healthcare decisions belonged with me and my family. And they didn't belong with a government official in Washington, D.C., looking at a piece of paper, making an assessment. And so that's what got me off my couch. Americans for Prosperity Arkansas, we've got to be getting close to the 1,000 range, but we've done hundreds of events across the state of Arkansas, engaging people on the issues and the process. We're a nonpartisan organization, and we hold both parties accountable on these principles. And so we're here in Paragould tonight because, these policies start in Washington, D.C., but they come to us in the state of Arkansas. And that's where they're implemented, and that's how they move forward. And so right now, we talked a little bit about the healthcare bill, but that healthcare policy is moving forward and it being implemented in Little Rock. And so we're out engaging people on these issues and in these processes because they're not happening anymore in a distant capital in Washington. They're being implemented right here in the state of Arkansas. And so we have worked on educating on the healthcare issue, educating on how these policies affect utility bills, how they affect our family's cost of living. And so I just want to thank you for coming out. And I want to encourage you to do one thing. I'm guessing for the majority of us, we all agree or pretty much agree that these policies, and you can look at what they're doing to our economy. How many people here think that $16 trillion deficit is too much? And both parties are responsible for that. We've increased it more rapidly under President Obama, but both parties are accountable. Who here thinks we have a spending problem in Washington, D.C.? Who here wants government in charge of their health care decisions? I don't. I got you on that one. I was going for a yes, yes. Okay, so these policies are coming at us from Washington. We all pretty much, for the majority, agree on the issues. But the question is we have to stop preaching to the choir. I'm tired of preaching to the choir. We're looking out to reach out to people here in Arkansas and talk to them about how these policies affect them. And that's why we're here today on the Failing Agenda Tour. So before I turn the microphone over to our special guest, let me ask you to do one thing. If you agree with us on the issues, one, I would encourage you to sign the petition if you already haven't signed it. But I'd also encourage you to text this number, if you have your cell phones with you, 46262, text failing to 46262, and work with Americans for Prosperity to move beyond preaching to the choir, to move beyond talking to your television set, and reach out to your friends and neighbors and talk to them about how these policies affect them, because that's what we the people are. And that's what changes the direction and course that these policies have taken us on. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for indulging me. It's my pleasure. What we're going to do is I'm going to introduce John Ratzenberger, who's our special guest. This is his first trip to Arkansas. We're so glad to have him. I'm going to introduce him, let him say a few words, and then we'll take questions and answers afterward. So let's give him a warm Arkansas welcome.
Thank you. It's tough talking over the pipes of a Harley. I used to have one until I got into an argument with a highway in Florida at 80 miles an hour. I lost the argument. No more Harley. That's the end of that. But thanks for having me, the folks at American Prosperity. Because I was asked earlier today, how long have I been working with Americans for Prosperity? And I said 65 years. Because I love this country. Always have, always will. But that's the America I grew up in. And I notice here the age of the crowd here, you understand what I'm saying. I mean, we grew up in America, most of us, that did things, that we knew who we are, we were sure of who we are. We didn't apologize for who we were, but we gave everybody an even chance. Everybody had an even playing field. And with what's going on right now in the Middle East, it just occurs to me that the grand irony is the people that are leading those riots and killing our people, the ambassadors, if something unfortunate happened to one of their children and they had the opportunity, they would be taking the kid to a hospital in Cairo. They'd be coming to Boston or Little Rock or Minneapolis or Chicago, because we are America and our standard is very high. And the reason our standard is high is because of manufacturing. That's what we do here. We manufacture. And without manufacturing, we're done. And so whether you're a Republican or Democrat, you still have to cross the same bridge. You're still using the same water system, the infrastructure. And, I've always said that manufacturing is to America what spinach is to Popeye. And you got to understand that. Now, this is a rural area, I realize. You might not have the same problems here with young people being handy mechanically, or know the difference between a Phillips head screwdriver, a monkey wrench, and a ball peen hammer. Well, most of the rest of the country don't understand that. But the older people certainly do, because when we grew up, we had vocational training. And whether we were going to become dentists or sociologists didn't make any difference. You still had the basic functions of how to use tools in your head, in your body. You understood that. And what most educators don't understand now is that all great inventors didn't grow up studying theory. They grew up making things. They grew up fixing things. They grew up tinkering with things. Thomas Edison grew up running around a shipyard when he was about 8, 9 years old. Benjamin Franklin was a printer's apprentice. Leonardo da Vinci grew up on a farm. And what we have to do, we have to pull back. We have to take a second and realize that this country was built by doers, people that brought a lot of common sense to the game. They were farmers. They were people much like you who understood to fix a problem, you got to step back and see what you have in hand and just fix the problem. But now we have a government that are filled with people really never had a job in their life. Never worked. So how could they understand how to fix a problem? They understand how to push their own agendas, but they don't know how to understand how to fix a problem. I mean, I was a carpenter before I became an actor, and I remember, going up there, and I thought I knew it all. I thought I was kind of full of myself, 17, 18-year-old kid, and I said, "You need any carpenters?" And the guy looks at me. He goes, "Oh, you think you're a carpenter, huh?" I said, "Well, yeah, sure." My grandfather had some tools, and I used to putter around. He goes, "All right, carpenter." He says, "Move that over there." Now the thing he pointed to was a pile of 2x12s. Maybe between 15, 20 feet long. Big joists, big heavy joists. And this was winter coming on, New England winter. So I spent maybe a week in mud, and snow, and rain, moving that pile of lumber over to the other side of that yard, that field. So, because I thought, okay, well, maybe he just wants to see if I show up on time, blah, blah, blah. And then he laughed. He goes, "Nah, it was better over there." So I just looked at him. Now I had a choice to make. Do I quit, or do I show him what I'm made of? So I stuck it out. And finally, after a lot of this stuff, they send you for a bucket of steam or go get the board stretcher. There's no such thing. I didn't. Luckily, I knew. I said, "Well, I think Tony's got the board stretcher. Why don't you go ask him?" But after a long time doing this, they finally, gave me a hammer, started letting me nailing things. But none of the other carpenters would talk to me, because these were seasoned